In this video, I'm going to discuss where I can find the used bike I want. I'm going to go over 6 options here in the US. Cycle Trader, eBay for motorcycles, brand forums, Craigslist, local dealers, and auctions. I'm going to go over some of the pros and cons of each one of those, and you can let me know if there's any more out there that I should consider. Stand by. Meerkat. I also want to remind everybody to stay tuned to the end. I may have another option. All right, Cycle Trader. Cycle Trader is online now. Sometimes you can also find Cycle Trader in print form. You don't see that so much anymore. Cycle Trader is pretty easy to use. It's only got like 3 things to fill out at the top. You kind of start where your baseline is. There's some pros and cons to Cycle Trader. Some of the pros are that the ads tell you how long the bike has been listed. The ad will tell you how many price changes the bike has had, in which direction and how much. It lets you search for the make model you're looking for from 10 miles away from your house all the way to nationwide. Some of the cons are the search engine isn't very good, and sometimes you'll put in a model and it'll bring up something entirely different. Sometimes the pictures are limited and very less than high quality, so you can't really tell a lot about the bike. The descriptions are more often than not are very general, and sometimes people say their bike is in excellent condition, which it's really not. It's kind of subjective term anyway. Very often their bikes are described as original, then you can see 3 or 4 things on the bikes that aren't original. Title status is an important thing, and title status may not be disclosed, so it might not be licensable. And yes, there are a fair number of sellers and that are scammers. Buying motorcycles on eBay. To me, this is a little scary, but it's also very interesting. eBay offers immediate feedback on the status of the bike. You can see how long it's been there. You can see how many people are looking at it. You can see how many, what the bids of the bike, because that's what it is. It's your bidding site. You can see sometimes you can buy the bike outright. You'll see that sometimes the seller will post their price for buy it now, which is kind of convenient. To get started, you fill out the 4 blocks here. It's very easy to get started. You can also go and fill out, if you want to get more specific and narrow down your search, there's 6 additional blocks you can fill in that kind of narrows it down to your price range, and if you're looking for particular colors or something like that. I would recommend staying with the 4 blocks to start with. Then if there's so many that you can't, then you can narrow it down just a little bit. Sometimes private sellers don't understand the meaning of a clean title. If you cannot license a bike in some states with just a bill of sale, or you have to go through a lot of hoops to do that. Sometimes they have a clean title, but it's a salvage title. So, and there's one of the bad things about on eBay that you really isn't any good way for you to communicate back and forth with the seller to ask any kind of questions. So be wary of wild claims like it looks like it did when it left the factory and the price is a lot lower than it should be. You can check prices on NADA. NADA has good prices, as you can see. Blue Book has good prices. And if the bike's older bike, like this 1972, you can check the Comprehensive Vintage Motorcycle Price Guide, which will tell you what the prices are for bikes rated from 1 to 5, 1 being the best and 5 being the worst. Okay, the third one, brand forums. Brand forums are
probably one of the most overlooked avenues that when you're trying to find a used motorcycle. And I really don't know why, because most of us are on some sort of brand forum. And somewhere in there, there's usually a place for motorcycles for sale, accessories for sale, and things like that. And the great thing about brand forums is if you follow the forum, you may actually already have a history of that bike. I know there's some forums that I follow, and I know the motorcycle, and I kind of know the people, and in fact, that's why I've met some of the subscribers and things like that. So you really have a better idea about who you're dealing with and a little bit more about the bike. The seller's location is also going to be located and on the forum, so you'll know where you're getting the bike from. One of the other things about the brand forum is you can see that you can ask questions to the person that put them on sale. So sometimes the descriptions aren't great, but the fact that you can ask questions, you can usually get the information you need. The other good thing about the brand forums is the forums usually will take off of the bad actors on there. You have to be already a participant for so many months, and so you don't have a lot of scammers on brand forums. Sometimes one of the negatives is the initial prices are going to be a little higher, but on the other end of that, a lot of times you'll get not only the motorcycles and the things, accessories on it for sale, you can also get all the other little trinkets and jewels that come with it. Unfortunately, the title status is not usually provided, and sometimes you have to sift through a lot of there's not like a screening mechanism so you can kind of narrow it down, and sometimes you just have to kind of flip through them to find what you want. The next one is a very popular one, and I expect a lot of you have used it. If not, you probably will, is your local Craigslist. It's a great place to look because you can find bikes in your local area that you can go out and see. You take a buddy with you. You can talk to the owner. You may get a test ride with a bike. You can see the title status. It can even show you a map and a location of where the person in the general area is. The Craigslist you can also do searches and screens through it, although you have to be pretty careful on the screens, because if you are the poster, the seller, list the bike incorrectly, then you won't ever find the bike. Sometimes the pictures in the descriptions are not that thorough, and there's really not a good mechanism to answer a lot of questions. Sometimes they'll tell you you have to call, and sometimes sellers are very suspicious of people who call them, because there are a lot of scammers out there trying to scam them. So sometimes they're very reluctant, and they want to deal with you face to face. Okay, your next one up is your local motorcycle dealership. Well, you probably got, if you look around, if you're living in a big city, there's probably at least 4 or 5 different kind of motorcycle dealerships. You might not have bought a bike from them, but you might be able to find a used bike. Generally, dealers will go over the bikes pretty well. They have to make sure they're safe, so they're probably going to take off sketchy tires and put on new tires. They're probably going to check everything to make sure it's a little safe. It's safer than you might get from a private seller. And the dealers generally only keep the best bikes for resale. They wholesale the other ones off, so you're probably going to get the cream of the crop up there. Also, the dealers will generally keep the brands that they kind of use bikes that they sell, so they should be able to service the bike, so that's another little plus. Dealers can also often provide the service history of the bike if the owner hasn't given it to you. Titles and licensing should not be a problem when you get it from a dealer, and dealers really do want to keep your business, so they want to sell you a new bike later on, so they're going to do everything they can. On the opposite end of that, the dealer's inventory, if you've been to dealers lately, it's very low. They don't have very many used bikes. And generally the prices on dealers' bikes are a little higher than you would get from a private seller. You get a better quality bike from a dealer than you would on a private seller, same amount of money. Okay, my last one up here are motorcycle auctions. I've used all the resources I've shown you already, and sometimes they work for me and sometimes they don't. But I think my best choice so far is going to be the motorcycle auction, specifically the Mecum Motorcycle Auction down in Las Vegas, baby. 1,750 motorcycles to look at. Some motorcycles are still in the crate, some are like new, some are good shape and daily riders, and a few are just project bikes. But they will almost always have something that you're looking for, and then there's some negative aspects of that, and I'll go there with the cons, but I think Las Vegas is where I'm going. Yeah, there are almost as many cons as there are pros when you buy at the auction. You're bidding against people, you have to pay a 10% surcharge on things, you don't get to ride the bike, you don't really get to you may or may not get to talk to the owner, but man, oh man, there are some choices there to be had. There's some people that are selling their projects off just to get enough money so they can start their next projects. You'll find many bikes there, if not most bikes, that will be worth a heck of a lot more than what you're going to pay for them if you had to do it yourself, and if you could do it as good a job as they do. Fabulous place. Just listen to the patter.
2,700, $25 band, $70 band, $2,500, $2,500 going to the internet.
W136 to 74 Honda TL125.
You stay with me for 12 minutes, you can stay with me another 40-some seconds to see what the other option to the used bike is. If you're not curious, take a look. Question: buy a used bike or buy a supercharger for the Thruxton and go to land speed racing again? Join me and my friends at Flat Cap Cafe Racer for riding and racing. Please subscribe.